All right, guys. So we're going to work on entrances to takedowns. So what our entrances involve is setting it up. The reason why a lot of people have trouble getting takedowns, throws, takedowns in general, is they're not setting it up. Okay. So we have, talk about guard passing, how you have your guard break and then you have your pass, and you kind of break up guard passes that way. Takedowns, I break them down into your setup, your entry, and then your finish. So if I'm doing a double leg or a single leg, for example, those are entries, right? My setup would be something like an arm drag or tapping the head. A fake of one takedown would be considered a setup, and then I go into something else. So some setups that are very common, that are very effective, that's why they're more common. Some of them are, and this doesn't necessarily mean that I recommend them or that I do them myself often, but like things like tapping the head. The reason that I say that immediately is because tapping the head, it gets them to look up, maybe they flinch or their hands come up, giving you the opportunity to go low. It's used a lot, and that's why I tend not to use it. If I tap the head, most people think that that's what comes now with shotgun, right? Because they're trained so much in that now it doesn't really work that good anymore. So you could use it, but I wouldn't rely exclusively on that. People touching the head a lot, and I pretty much know it's a wrestler trying to take it down. I also see people touching the shoulder. That's more of a measurement of distance. Jiu-jitsu guys are taught, if I touch the shoulder, I can shoot a double leg. Same thing touching the head, I can shoot a double leg. But now, when you touch my shoulder, I pretty much know you think about shooting something, right? So we need setups that most people are not going to recognize, right? I need setups that people aren't going to go, oh, he did that, that means he wants to do this other takedown that I did in class. So we need to come up with other stuff. Setups can be anything from touching the guy, anything to actually like moving the person, to not even touching them at all, and just movement, right? My movement can make somebody lower their level or straighten their body up, you know, or flinch, right? And then I can go into some type of takedown. So with that being said, a couple different takedown setups. We have tapping the forehead, because that makes your hands go up. If I go here, most people are going to react, right? Her hands are going to come out the block, right? She's going to flinch. She blinks almost every time. She's starting to grab it. And what I do is I want to test. I want to see what she does, what her reaction is to my setup. Me tapping her head, she's actually not doing too much. Maybe just because we're talking about it, she's not going to shoot or do anything, so she just kind of watches me do it. So if that was the case in a match, okay, that setup isn't really doing anything for me. So I'm going to kind of abandon that and look at other stuff. Maybe try to touch her leg, right? She's starting to go for my arm. When I reach for her head, she went for my arm. So now I know pretty much she's going to reach with that hand anytime that I extend my arm out. That tells me arm drag, right? If she's going to extend, no. If she's going to extend her arm, every time, if she's going to extend her arm, every time I reach, do the same thing you do, okay, then that means I'm going to be able to arm drag her. Because when she reaches, quarters like the armpit, I can arm drag, right? So the idea is that you're not going to change the reaction. You don't know what I'm thinking, right? So every time I reach, you reach for me, right? So now I reach, and you reach again. Now I can arm drag, okay? So I'm looking to create actions and reactions, kind of get her to do the same thing twice. If I can get her to do the same thing twice, she probably don't do it the third time. The third time is when I'm going to act. So in her case, arm drag, right? Arm drags are there a lot. You know, people want to get some wrist control. A lot of times you're hand fighting, you're trying to get this wrist control, and they reach, and you can drag. You can even lock up, right? If I lock up, I have options. I can still arm drag. I can snap her down. If I'm going like this, and she's not trying to straighten up, I can do a snap down, right? She's not trying to straighten up, I can do a snap down. If she is trying to straighten up, every time I snap down, she's trying to push and shoot. So we have tapping the head, if they react to that. The idea here is to pop the elbows up. So when she reaches, boom, I pop, and I shoot. Right? It's to get low. I make them say high, I go low. I could fake a shot, and if they're sprawling every time I reach for the legs, I'm going to actually fake low, so high, snap down. Right? So I can get them to sprawl. Now they have no base in front of them. Right? She sprawls. Now I have snap down because there's no base under her chest to keep her posture. Right? So we have snap down. I can pop them up and go under. I can arm drag, go behind, or even shoot. I can tap the head, pop the arms up. I can get her to reach, arm drag. I can tap the leg. If she don't sprawl or do anything, I can actually go for a single leg the next time. 1 second. Yeah. So if she's not doing anything when I do that, the next time I pick it up. Okay? Same thing with a regular shot. If I shoot and they didn't do anything, or I fake a shot and didn't do anything, I could just shoot the next time, right? So these are all setups to the takedowns. For hip throws and other throws, I usually want to go in for some type of clinch. So I see some people, they learn the hip throw, but they don't learn the entries yet. And they try to go in like this and think they're going to throw. It don't happen that way, usually. They're any good. So what you want to do, you want to hand fight. You want to work your underhooks. See, I'm stepping in, same leg that I have the underhook. Now I'm ready to go. I've created a clinch. She can do stuff too, but if I get a good under over, I stay tight, I use my head. Now I can work my throws. I have the space that I need here to step in, to get my hip through, to throw our arm by and go behind, to body lock, right? So I have everything that I need here for different takedowns and throws. But I don't just lunge into that. So my setup for a good clinch is first wrist control. Wrist control, use my head, right? I see space for an underhook, I get my underhook. I'm getting an angle. You see I'm coming in at this angle here. I don't come in straight. She's got too strong of an overhook. I get this angle on her, right? If I punch, I can do a throw by, I can go behind, right? Now I'm getting good position for all kinds of throws. So when I come in, your goal, if you want to do a throw, is wrist control first. Use your head. Come in close. Get your underhook. Right? Now, maybe even a tighter overhook so she doesn't have a good underhook. Now I'm ready to go. Right? Now I'm ready. This. Underhook, use your head. All right, get from behind. No? Does that answer some of the question? So entries or setups. Setups are different than entries. The entry is like the type of takedown you're going to do. The setup is what you do before you enter that takedown, right? And then the finish is what happens after. So that makes the most sense for you guys probably with the double leg, because we've gone over so many finishes for the double leg, right? So you go for the double leg. That doesn't mean they didn't sprawl. They're probably sprawled, right? But maybe they didn't. Maybe they sprawl and you reshoot, and then that opens up other things. Maybe you go for a single and switch to the double. Maybe you go for the double, switch to the single. Maybe you went back and forth a couple times, but you're still trying to finish the double or the single. Millions of doubles and singles, right? A lot of different finishes.
Now, how about with the gi jacket, when you have an opponent that has grips?
Yeah.
You know,
so,
because that's, you know, do you fight the grips or do you just use that?
Sometimes. The judo type movements are going to make more sense with that, because wrestling doesn't have, you're not allowed to grab clothing. So usually the one on your, you gotta trade grips. So if we're here, so you don't need to keep it out. So usually gonna grab the lapel right here, and then the sleeve right under the elbow. And then she can put the same spots.
And most likely she's gonna have the same, right?
Yeah, this, we can both do the same thing. So if I don't feel comfortable with her having those grips, I can go 2 hands, push this up, and then strip the grip with like a hook away, and that's gonna strip the elbow grip, right? Without turning my back. So I go boom, boom. But the problem is I let go of my grips, right? Now we gotta do that all over again, and she's gonna grab me again. So you have to get the grips that you want. If I stay here fighting her grips over and over, we're just gonna stay here fighting each other's grips over and over and not do anything.
Right.
So I have to trade grips, I call it. So I'll go in, this is what I wanted. So whatever she gets, okay, but this is what I wanted. Huh? This is what I wanted. So whatever she got, she got. Now I'm ready to go in, right, and do my throws. Whatever that might be. Okay. I can't be so concerned about her grips that I don't do my offense. Now, let's say I want those grips. You're gonna get the grips on me. And I come in, and she kind of got me first. I'm gonna take away and then go for mine, right? Just like she tried to strip mine. I want my grips kind of first, so that way she has to deal with what she gets, right?
Right.
Turn that into a setup. She has arm drag. So that's going to be the grip fighting or the hand fighting. It's no gi, it's hand fighting. And with the judo, it's a lot of grip fighting, you know, because there's more to hold on to. But you can still use the same concepts that you would do with no gi, you know, rolling the wrist and making your grips theirs, arm drags, all that's there, but you have the added collar and stuff like that. You can still snap the head down, you can still fake shots, stuff like that. Usually that's the grips they get. So the ones near the collar, your grip strip usually would be here. You see I keep my back straight. I don't look down and like, try to get rid of it. I posture, 2 hands, and I push it up. I posture up. I want tension with my body. If I push and I move my chest with her, she's gonna be able to keep the grip. She's gonna be able to keep the grip. I need to create a base, like my chest doesn't move, and I push that away, right? And then punch that away. If I can turn that into my grips, I do. That's not what so if that isn't working, there's another. Remember the lapel's got a long lapel there? I'm going to cover the top of her hand. You can't grab her fingers or her thumb. I can put my hands over. I still posture, and it's like a zipper. I just shove her hand down that lapel, and it's going to burn on the fingertips of the lapel when the threads are and everything. So just do that. But once I do that, I'm getting grips, right? I don't want to just go, yeah, broke your grip, and then they're going to grab me again, right? So I need to turn that, always turn your defense into an offense. Now I can attack. Now it's my turn to do something, right? So you have those grips, the sleeves. Let me grab this time. Sometimes they'll get the sleeves, and there's stuff they can do, but they have both sleeves. Not as much, right? They probably want this lapel so they can control my upper body better, but there's still some things they can do with the sleeves. The easiest one, I make C's with my hands. Look, I don't go over. This doesn't work good. I go under, and then with my C, I go to the wrist, and I push it across their body. And I close my hand, so I have her wrist control now. So same thing here, like that. So hold pretty hard. I'm gonna go here, here. All right. I like to do it one at a time so I can focus. If I do both, maybe they hit each other and stuff, so I just go 1, 2. Now I have my grips. Right? Also realize sometimes they might have grips. Doesn't mean they're controlling you. So if she just holds these grips really good, and I shoot a double leg, right? So all she did was let me take her down, right? So sometimes the grips don't matter. Sometimes they grab the lapel really low, right? That's nothing. That's just holding the tail of the lapel. Might as well just be untucking it because that's all that's good for. Sometimes what I'll do, I'll hold low. If someone's just stripping every grip I put out there, I'll go with the hand that I want to grab it. Let's say I want to grab her lapel here, straight across. So I'll grab low with the right. So you're going to try to strip it. I switch. I'm holding mid with the left. She tries to grab that, which frees up my hand to grab one more time in the right spot. Okay? So if I go left, right, left. Now I got the one I want, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll start low and start climbing it like a rope. I do 3. I go the correct hand, because that's the one they expect to grab high, but I go super low. Then I switch, so they let go, and then I grab again, right? So 3. You could do it with 2. I could grab over here and then, but I like the 3, because a judo guy did that with me once, and I was like, oh, that's tricky. That was 3 switches instead of 2. It got me, right? So from then on, I'm like, I'm going to do it that way, because that's cool. So don't be too crazy about stripping every single grip, right? Because what she's doing there is she's letting herself get tricked, right? She knows which was a good one, right here, or thumb in the back of the neck here. That's another one that is good, right? I don't tend to use that, but a lot of judo guys will use this grip. They're just holding right by the tag with that thumb, right? Or I can reach all the way over here and grab the belt from over your shoulder, right? Or even here, okay? So those are grips you want to watch out for. The one on the elbow is not so, you don't have to worry so much. And right here on the sleeve, you don't have to worry so much. Unless it's stopping you from gripping. That's when you want to strip the grip and then get your own grips. Same thing in guard, right? Collar choke. You got to worry about that. That's the grips you got to worry about. If I'm just holding here, there's not much to worry about here. It's when I start going underhand, right? Or I start reaching around and start trying to pass stuff to my other hand, that's when you got to worry, right? When things start going in front of your neck, you better start bringing that down, right? But if I'm just like flopping that out, messing with you, like don't fall for it. They're just setting things up for later, and you're going to waste your energy thinking about it. Set up your stuff, right? What do you want to do? Later, when they start messing with that lapel, that's when you worry about it, right? Just don't let it get up by your neck. Keep it down where it's supposed to be, right? Sometimes I'll pass, if I'm trying to pass someone's guard and they untuck my lapel, I just kind of throw them out of the way, make sure they stay behind me so they don't get where they could do like a worm guard, some type of lapel guard, right? Is there any grips that you worry about that you've seen and you don't know how to get rid of?
I have a more specific question.
Okay.
Some of the trouble that I've run into is my shots are garbage, so I want to try to move in for like Harai or something like that. But as soon as I feel like I reach, I get shot on.
Okay.
Because I'm closing the distance for them to shoot on.
Yes.
So how do I avoid that other than just continue to sprawl? So
my stance starts with a stance. And so you said something specific, but I gotta kind of be general too.
Okay.
I'm gonna have my hips lower than hers. She's short, so I gotta be careful I don't go too low, right? She could, percentage-wise, she doesn't have to go as low as I do to be lower than her hips. And if I go too low, let's say I go right about here and she just gives me a little push, I can't really stay up, right? So I have to play with that, and she has an advantage here. The reason you do that, you want your hips lower than theirs so you can shoot faster than they can, right? If I have to drop my hips, right now her hips are lower. If I have to drop lower than her hips to get a shot, and that's why we touch our knees, by the way. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to touch both knees. That's why we touch both knees, because we got to get under their hips, and they're about to sprawl. So we have to get under everything. It's much quicker and easier for her to sprawl than for me to shoot her, because she's shorter, right? I have to drop my hips all the way down here before I can actually get under. So if I can do that ahead of time, now I'm able to shoot. Also now she's got to get her hips lower than mine to shoot on me. So that's the game we're playing. But then it's a game of like, if you go too low, give you a little push, a little shove, right? So now you're not ready, and maybe I am. And that's why you see the wrestlers changing levels all the time, right? And you never know where I'm going to shoot. So there's that. Also, lines of defense. So the hips is one line of defense, right? We know about the sprawl. Lands on the neck, the shoulders. It's a weapon. You hit them with it as you sprawl. But before the hips, the reason we practice sprawling so much is because they got past our other lines of defense. My other lines of defense, what's the first thing we were talking about earlier? Hand fighting, right? My hands are my first line of defense. She tries to shoot, I can just block, right? She gets past my hands, my forearms. That's a line of defense, right? Cross faces, right? Technically elbows, I'm not gonna use my elbow, but if I put the elbow in the way, that's gonna block her like a forearm would. My head, so maybe my hands are out of the way. She threw my hands out of the way. My head can get in the way. I can wrestle around with just my head. I used to do that in wrestling. I put my hands behind my back so I wouldn't get arm dragged, and I'd use my head. They couldn't shoot on me because my head was always in the way. Then, you got hands, forearms, elbows, head, chest. He tries to shoot, he got past the head, my chest, right? He gets past my chest, that's when I have to sprawl. So, what I can do, when I'm trying to get close and I don't want him to shoot on me, you're trying to get these grips, what did you do?
Yeah.
You said, oh, lower your level. Oh, got you. Boom, right? That's what happens.
Yep.
Close enough to grab. If I touch the shoulder, I can shoot on her.
Right.
If he touches my shoulder, I can shoot on her. Right? So if you can grab, they can shoot on you. And that's what they're doing. So you shoot. This is the problem, right? So my lines of defense. I'm not just going to grab, right? And I do one thing that's bad. I grab with my lead side. We're supposed to be grabbing with our rear side, right? Why? I'm dragging here. Okay. I'm dragging here.
So far, it's not.
I'm not even moving, and it's harder for her to reach, right? So I have more of a square base. My chest is behind my knees, so I'm reaching with this. If I reach with my other hand, my chest goes over my knee, and I'm more outstretched, right? Similar to Muay Thai, I'm not leaning over our punches. I'm not leaning over our lead foot. Same idea. So when we enter, I should have my rear hand reaching, and this hand I keep back. I'm ready to defend also. My lead leg is the main one they're going to attack. My lead leg is the main one they're going to attack. Just like arm grabbing my rear arm, this is too far for her to reach. That's going to be too far to reach. She has to shoot really fast to get this one. There's people that can do it, but this one's much easier, right? And so I'm going to protect this leg mainly. When I'm on my lead leg, my stance is so that my shoulders are just inside my knees. Hard to see with big shorts. When my hands are hanging just inside my knees, I have a wide stance. I'm able to move forward, backward, right, and this is easy. So you should get in a stance, hop around. It should be easy to go in any direction, right? With my shoulders still inside, not beyond my lead knee, not past my rear knee, and not over either knee. And that's the same thing when we're shooting, reaching, anything to do with takedowns. I need to keep that upper body position inside my base, right? So now we're trying to get in for some type of grip without them shooting on us. So when I reach, I'm going to keep my forearm kind of bladed here, so it's down. Remember, that's a line of defense. If they get past my hand, I need my forearm to be able to stop it. So here with a straight arm, and that's why I only grab them behind the neck, it's easy for her to shoot now through this. Good? Because my arm's locked out. If I can reach in like this, now, let's say she does go lower than my hand. My forearm's in the way, right? Where before I didn't have time for that. So when I grab the lapel, I'm coming in with these 3 fingers and I'm grabbing, right? And I'm like making a fist, like, give me your lunch money, kid. That type of grip. A lunch money grip. And my forearm is right in the sternum, okay? So I'm here, and then this hand looking for that. But I'm not gonna reach for it. When she comes for me, when she grabs me, that's when I grab, right? If she's worried about this, I'm not gonna quite grab it yet. I'm gonna defend. Maybe I use that to get around the arm, right? Like a slide by, right? Let's slide by. Slide by is, I have underhook, I have a throw by, like throwing a baseball. If a slide by would be the hands going through and going around it, right? So I would slide by. But the main thing is my defense is here. My head is here, right? So I'm coming in like this. In judo, they can't shoot double legs.
Right.
Single legs, they're not allowed. Used to be. They're not allowed now. So they can come in like this. It's like my Greco stance. My Greco stance is totally different than my other stances because in Greco, we can't grab the legs, they can't grab our legs, we can't use our legs to trip, nothing with legs. So in wrestling, jiu-jitsu, I'm gonna be here, right? When it matters, this is my stance. In Greco, I'm like this. Totally different, right? Because in fact, I'm like, here's my leg, but they're not allowed to grab it. What I'm looking to do is break their plane, we call it danger zone. I'm trying to break the plane of their balance, work our upper body, right? And throw them from here. Judo, similar, right? They can't go for legs now. So they can trip with the legs and everything. So there's that. But I can reach. They're not going to shoot me, right? And keep them away. I can step on them real good and go for my takedown. You take a page out of judo, they also have, and I don't know the exact rules, but I know there's a very short window once they grab that they have to throw. Watch some competitions and you'll see that once they grab, they're already doing their takedown. They're already doing their technique, right? So that comes from drilling, of course. Drill, 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 so you have the confidence to enter your technique as soon as you make your grips. But that's also going to slow down, or I should say limit the percent of times that they shoot on you when you reach. Because they know that as soon as you get those grips, you're throwing them, they're going to be less likely to shoot and more likely to defend the grip, right? But what I would say is initially before, they're hitting you before you get that grip as you reach, because that's good, that's a good trigger. They reach for me, I'm going to shoot, right? Have your forearm in the way, have your knees bent. Right? Maybe hand fight a little bit. Make room for that grip. Right? If I grab low, they're not going to shoot because I'm going to catch them, right? If you try to shoot on me and my hands are low, I'm just going to catch underhooks.
Yeah.
So now I can grab a lapel and then grab high. I open the lapel, grab high, right? My knees are bent. Boom. Grab low, grab high, grab low, grab high, right? She's worried about defending my grips, not me shooting, or not shooting on me, right? So think of your lines of defense. Make sure they're in the way, right? I'm going to use my hands for a grip, so maybe I can't defend with that. I can defend with my forearm. I can put my head lower than hers. Keep my head in the way. Now I can get grips. You're not shooting on me here, right? Now that I got my grips and I need to posture maybe for a throw, I can do that. But I've got the grips. Right? Underhook. Underhook, she's not going to shoot. I got to worry about a fireman's, but now my hand's here. I defend with my hand. Now I can get my lapel grip. Maybe I want to back out from there and do a judo throw. I can do that, right? So you don't always have to enter the way that you want to throw. You can use a different entry, maybe an arm drag, and then I know she's going to pull that back, and I start reaching for the lapel grip, right?
Okay.
I can set it up with different things, right? You can set up your grips. I can, well, maybe I don't want to do a snap down because they're shooting on me all the time. Or maybe I tap the leg, and reach high for the grip, right? Stuff like that, right? If you're a counter fighter, it's not as recommended, but counter fighters usually like to do this way, which is, and I would do this a lot, is they get a grip on me, boom, I strip it, and then I grab them, right? So using their action to set up your grips or takedown, right?
Oh, you froze.
What's that? Say again? Did everyone freeze? That's crazy. Everyone froze at the same time.
Anybody there?
I hear you, but everybody's screen froze at the same time.
How do I move? I like a picture time.
Yeah, it's funny. Let me see here. Can you at least see me moving around?
Right.
Yeah. Well, no, I think I had the same question though, because again, I had asked him specifically because last time that I grappled with you, remember I was so concerned with those grips, and I really shouldn't have, because there was no threat when while standing.
Thank you. I'm glad that I'm no threat. I appreciate that.
No. yeah. But like the way Brian explained it though, it was like said again, they're not threatening grips when when you're standing, as far as chokes or anything like that. It's you're just trying to set up your throws or your takedown.
Yeah.
So I just had to be concerned with mine. So that's one of the things that I had asked him as well.
The shots happen so damn fast is my problem, and I think I've just got to get more used to it. More
I think you're muted, Brian.
Yeah, Coach. I think you're muted.
Now, who would have done that?
You.
There we go.
So when somebody's very sensitive to the grips that I'm trying to get, I will take some time getting grips that I don't care about and letting them go when they try to strip it, and grabbing a new grip and just frustrating them a bit with the grips. Because one, when I get the grip that I really want, you're going to strip it. Two, I'm going to waste my energy trying to get that grip, right? Three, what grip I really want because I'm going for it. So what I do is waste your time going for grips that I could care less about. So you try to strip it. So you end up the one frustrated. You end up the one wasting your energy. And I'm not giving away the grip that I really want because I'm not showing it to you yet. Then once you kind of leave me alone about the grips, then I'll go for it, right? Then I'll go for the one I really want. So you'll see that. And that's why you got to recognize what grips are dangerous, and don't waste your time on grips that don't really matter, and trade grips. Get the ones that you really want, But yeah, that's sleeves, lapel behind the neck, pant legs near the knees, and sometimes the ankles, right? Those are the main grips you got to worry about. Choke grip, it's always an underhand grip, right? Going in that collar, that first one especially. And if they get the first one, whatever you do, don't let them get the second one, right? Yeah.
And I want to ask you, just this is your personal opinion, and just from watching and having been shot on a million times while I'm trying to get like Harai or something. It seems like, and I was just saying this while you were off, it seems like the answer to the question is just get a better shot.
You're trying to shoot?
Well, no, what I'm saying is it seems like a shot is less dangerous than actually trying to close the distance to get grips. Does that make sense? Like there's less involved?
It's about the same distance though.
Is it really? Okay.
About the same distance. Until you get a better shot, like I would practice shooting from a distance. That's what I would do, because I didn't like hand fighting. People that I went against were always stronger than me. And my grips were not good. So, and that was before jiu-jitsu. Then imagine jiu-jitsu, because you don't grip on clothes in wrestling. So now my grips are far behind people in jiu-jitsu, because they were all pavers. They were Brazilians, pavers. And so they're picking up bricks by one hand each and throwing them up onto the scaffolding. I watched them do it. And I did it for a day, and it's like killer. Like you can imagine the grip strength. But so they had really strong grips. Me even breaking their grip was like a joke. So, but in wrestling, I would practice shooting from far away. I never was I didn't want to tie up with somebody stronger than me, right? So much of the moves in wrestling are explosive, and someone stronger than you and more athletic than you, that's not going to work. So all my setups were from a distance, just outside. I was doing a little bit earlier, stand up. So I'm not going to shoot on her, but just to show you, here I can reach her, right? She can also reach me. We can tie up, right? So this is the closest I would usually get to a tie up, inside bicep control, right? And they could leave their hands on the inside and they could have it. And this would be the pummel here.
Right.
Never really got into this stuff until I started doing Greco, working for these underhooks and stuff. All my stuff was from this distance, right? We can barely grab each other's wrists, right? And so I'd be here, baiting my grips for her to grab me so I could arm drag. Pulling the rope, I call that. So when she reaches, I pull the rope until I get an arm drag, right? Or I shoot, right? Take the shots, you know, and not do anything where they could get a grip on me. So almost a psych out game of level changing and faking stuff and just seeing how they react. And when they bite on something 2 times, I'm in, you know. Then when I got into Greco, that's when the upper body locks and stuff started for me. That's when I started getting closer and working the pummels and learning that whole game. But before that, it was all about setting it up without touching them, right? With level changes and movement. And so that's when shooting from a distance mattered. And I would take mats like this. I would set up like cones or whatever were in the wrestling room at the time, maybe just throwing dummies, and say, okay, I can shoot. Can I shoot to the wall from here, right? Okay, can I shoot to the wall from here? And just develop, see how long of a shot I could take without losing good, proper position, right? Because you still need that posture. You still need your hip against the leg. You still got to be in tight. And I got to where I could shoot pretty far, pretty fast. And then I started using a person. Say, hey, let's do takedowns, right? I'm just going to try to take you down and you defend. And then what they didn't know was I was going to do it from a distance. And so it'd start normal. I'd pop back a little bit where they couldn't reach me, start my whole movement thing, and then try to get them, right? And eventually I started getting people from far away, and I started doing them in matches. So yes, you can develop that, but that's, I would say it's advanced. It takes a lot. So what do you do? How do you shoot without, what are they doing when you shoot on them? They sprawl? They stop you? They stuff you?
I just don't shoot.
You don't shoot. Okay.
No.
A really easy shot, I feel like, is a drop single. And then if you want to do a double leg, you can easily switch that to a double leg. And all you need is the inside ties. So, inside ties, I'm looking to hold the biceps, but not from the outside, right? I always need inside control. So I want to make them reach a little bit. So with my upper body, again, movement-based, right? I give them my upper body a little bit, but don't go over, don't go beyond your knee, right? If I go like this, she snaps me down, and I can't stop that, right? But if I keep my chest behind my knee, yeah, I got support. There's a straight line into my foot. So I just give her the image that I'm too far over. Now I can go here.
So you're not.
So both inside. Grab me again. See how I come in?
Like she's swimming his
It's
hand.
like pummeling, re-pummeling.
Yeah.
Maybe like that. So just re-pummel from underneath.
See his hands
And
are
hold the
outside.
biceps. They're inside.
Mine are outside.
Yeah. Right? So from here, I throw the arm up and I drop to my lead knee as I shoot to the calf. This hand, I don't want stuck, right? She could hook it, go easy. She could hook that and throw me down, like up. So what I do is I do a big wheel. Boom. There. Okay? Now, if I like doubles, I trade, sorry, and go over here. See my hand? Right there. Take my step. So this I drop single. I don't go to both knees, just one. From here, I step up, I can drive. If I'm doing the double, if I'm doing the single, that's supported in the rib thing, right? And then my finish, whatever finish you like. Maybe I go here, right? Maybe I throw it back or a body lock behind. So I let them feel like they can grab, come inside grips. So she grabbed my neck. My inside grip took that off my neck. This one stuffs anything else she might be thinking about doing. From here, my head is in the way. It's right in their neck. See how it's like, where do you want your head? She wants her head there. I push it out of the way, right? I want the drop single. I throw my knee towards their foot. I've thrown my knee onto a lot of people's feet. It's not nice, but it can happen. And may or may not have been on purpose. So I throw my knee towards their foot. Boom. Calf, this is a big wheel, hand over hand. From here, I want my forehead in the rib, and I just put that between my legs. From here, I got tons of finishes, right? That's one way to get in without them shooting on you. Because for her to shoot on me, she got to get past my hands. If my hands have inside control, try to shoot. She has to get rid of that, right?
Yeah.
So what would you do? Right? It's easy to keep her from shooting on me. As long as I got my hands and all these other defenses to fall back on, she has to set me up, right? I'm here. Inside bicep control. Now she's got it. So it's easy to switch that. So, all right? So keep it. For me to switch, you can do one at a time. Go ahead. Or two at a time, right? One at a time is always good because you're always maintaining something. But two is quicker, but there's a moment where you don't have grips, right? Those can always switch, right? See where my forearm is? Yeah, go ahead and do that. Grab that. So that's hand fighting, right? Put me in a Russian.
Can you show me that? Well, everything.
So we're here, here. She does a Russian. I can post on that, right? Strip my grip, come back in. Arm drag, don't spin the other way. You keep doing that.
I don't know.
So look what she keeps
That's my
doing.
mistake. That's
She
my
keeps
mistake.
doing this, and I don't think I've ever told her not to, but don't do this. So when I arm drag, you don't make a complete rotation to face them again. Because if I arm drag, she starts getting her back, I got her back. You're not going to spin around so quick that they can't get you. So what do? You re-drag. Yep. If I don't have time to re-drag, I've shown this. So I drag, she re-drags, I don't have time, this hand shoots up as an underhook. And then I use that to face them.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Right? Yeah. So if I arm drag, now just throw your hand down and around me. Okay. See? I can't get behind you. Watch out for the hip throw.
I love jiu-jitsu.
So, hand fighting. When I want you guys hand fighting, we do this in wrestling too, in the wrestling class. Hand fighting. Trying to get wrist control. 2-on-1's good. I can hold like that way. This way's good. Arm drags are good. Neck, right? And tapping the leg. This is hand fighting. She's trying to do the same thing to me now. No takedown. This hand fighting. Right? That's hand fighting. It's like getting grips, showing how you take them down, but then you don't do it. Grab their neck, snap down, you push up, shoot for the leg again, tap the leg, tap both legs. It's wrestling without doing the takedown, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a game, but it's a skill game, and it's a drill. Pummeling, that's hand fighting, right? If we got past this inside tie grip, going for underhooks, right? This is it, that's it, right? All that.
I thought you said pummeling money.
Everything. That's hand fighting. So you get better at hand fighting, and that's going to allow you to get in close enough, so I have my inside ties, to set up takedowns. It doesn't have to be the drop single, right? Could be a duck under, right? Could be a bunch of stuff.
Is it too much to do a drop single from an arm drag because you're pulling them across? Is it too much movement?
It's not. Just a different setup. I probably might not use it, but by arm drag, this opens up all this. All she has left
Right.
is hip to defend, right?
Yeah.
So by arm drag, shoot this arm down, I can do the same stuff.
You can.
Right? I got the calf, go calf on calf, finish. You're good. I can use arm drag to shoot on the opposite leg, right? I could use arm drag to take it back. We all know that one. Arm drag, she pulls it back with an arm curl, right? Sayonagi. I can use arm drag for a lot of stuff.
Right.
So you can mix and match just like, so going back to the passing, you can mix and match your guard break with the guard pass, right? Once the guard is open, now that closed guard defense is gone, you can decide on a pass. Just like that with the takedowns, once you set them up, and some guard breaks are better with certain guard passes, same thing with takedowns. Some setups are better for different entries, right? An arm drag might flow better for some things than other things, right? Like arm drag, maybe, I'm trying to think of something that's not good with an arm drag. Arm drags are really good. There's a lot of stuff that's good for an arm drag. Let's say tapping the head. Tapping the head probably wouldn't do much if you're trying to do a hip throw, right? Probably wouldn't help you much. But if I can pummel for an underhook, that's a good setup for my hip throw, right? If I go inside tie, that's good for a lot of shots and drop singles and things like that. You can even do snap downs and things. It doesn't always have to be by their neck. So yeah, you could just mix and match. And that's something you got to play with, see what you like. You might like certain entries, but you like other takedowns, and you see how you can fit them together, right? I use shots to set up shots. So I'll shoot on one leg, knowing they're going to kick it back. Remember, that lead leg, they put that in front. Well, the higher level guys put that in front because that's their dominant leg. And they're very good with shooting off of it and sprawling it, right? Because they know you're going to attack it. That's the leg they put in front. So if I can fake that leg and you kick it back to defend, now your non-dominant leg is in range for me to switch to, right? That's why I'll use that. I'll show you the drop single with that. So I use that with the drop single a lot. If I'm sitting here and Rita has one leg forward, she can be pretty darn sure that I want to attack that one, right? So when I go for this drop single and she kicks it back, now watch the hand switch and the leg switch. And then turn to this side, right? So all that is a pivot. I go here, she kicked it back. I knew she was going to kick it back. I didn't want that leg. I switch. Grab, pick it up. So you can use shots to set up other shots, right? And that one doesn't need as much of a setup because if I know she's going to kick it back anyway, for that forward, who cares if I set that up? I want her to react, right? So that one doesn't need a setup because the attack itself is the setup, right? I want her to kick it back. I need to give her the time to react so I don't set it up. Earlier, Alex, you mentioned something. You said it just seems like they're so fast. So there's a thing with wrestling that we called wrestler speed. I like that term because I'm not fast, right? But
No, he's not fast.
I'm not
He just
fast.
had to be down.
But if my hand's in her face and she's trying to get rid of that, and I'm already down here, right?
Okay.
So that's wrestler speed. You're thinking mentally about something else, but I'm here. That's the speed you need to have. So you got to think of it mentally instead of physically fast, right? Of course, drilling it and getting better and faster is good. But if you can mentally take a second or two out of their brain, that's a lot of time for you to move, right? You don't have to be fast. You can be on their legs and they think, yeah, I got rid of that hand off my face or away from my face. Or I stripped that grip they were going to get, but you weren't going for a grip. You were faking a drop single, right? So remember this inside tie? What if I'm faking a lapel grip, right? I don't really grip. I just fake it.
You pick it up.
And I'm drop single. Boom. They're up here getting ready to break your grip.
Yeah.
And you're down there getting your single leg, right? So you got to think of some strategies with setups. Like, hey, what would flow? You know, mix the judo and the wrestling. We have a lot of moves we learn. Other schools are just learning jujitsu stuff and borrowing from judo, borrowing from wrestling, but not everything, you know? So think of it like that. What can I do that's going to make them put their defense else, right? So if I want the upper body, I can grab low, right? If I want the lower body, I can fake high. If I want the left, I can fake right. If I want the right, I can fake left. And confuse them, right? Throw in some stuff that you could care less about. They're like, what's he trying to do? I have no idea what he's trying to do, right? Danny, I get a kick out of Danny's tickle the guy's armpit in a match. Like, that's the kind of stuff. Like, you're not gonna tickle their armpit, right? You're not supposed to tickle. I think you can legally. You can't gouge their skin and stuff. So he probably just did it lightly or whatever. But he's like, I don't even think the guy noticed. But what he's trying to do is take the guy off his game, make him think of like, what the heck's going on here, right?
Right.
And he's changing up. Like, it's funny way to put it, but that's the kind of things you're trying to think of. Like, what can I do to make them believe I want this one thing, this plan A, but I really want plan B, right? Like the sweep. So you get them to commit to defending your first thing, which is your setup. And when they commit to defending your setup, so it has to be a realistic setup, right?
Bye, guys.
She's got to work tonight.
Okay,
All right.
have a good night. Be safe.
See you tomorrow.
So
Stay healthy.
Yes.
So your setup has to be realistic, right?
Right.
It can't be something that like, so someone said, maybe I could do a forward roll and then do a double leg, right? What's a forward roll gonna do? Nothing. So no one's gonna fall for that forward roll, right? So then the forward roll is not going to set up your double leg, right? They're gonna look at you like, okay. And then you're trying to do a double leg, oh, that's a real threat. And then they sprawl on you. So your setup has to be something that they believe would take them down or would lead to a takedown, right? And then, or makes them believe they're gonna get you, right? So like for a fireman's carry, I need a good overhook and I drop, almost like a drop single. I drop into the fireman's and I throw, right? One of my teammates used to get me all the time with this. I was good at getting underhooks, right? So every time I got an underhook on him, he'd shoot a fireman's. And because I would commit to my underhook, he would get the dang fireman's almost every time because I gave him the strong underhook that he needed because he needed a good overhook, and he'd just be shooting on me as I was committing to my underhook every single time. Like it wasn't until late season before I started like being able to stop it because it's such a habit for me to get a good underhook. And so he's just using it against me, you know? So you gotta think of it in that way. Like, what could I do, right? It doesn't have to be your setup. It could be something that they want, and you think of what's a great counter to it, right? And those are what's going to give you the perceived speed that you're fast, and it's going to give you the slick strategy that you need. All of us here, we're not the youngest, you know, so someone like Lucas starts training with us, we got to have some slickness to our moves. We got to outsmart him, right, and use our knowledge, because he's physically going to be faster and stronger probably, right? And so we have to have moves that work, and they got to be slick, right? So setups, set everything up, and that's takedowns, right? But that could be for your submissions, right? From mount, they know what you want. You want collar chokes, you want arm bars, arm triangles, right? There's limited amount of submissions that you can do from each position. The most effective and dangerous things are what they're going to defend. But if that's why my belt test has double attack, triple attacks, because I want you thinking in setups, right? In how to combine lock flows and transitions, not just do ones and twos for moves, right? Go by the book ABC or 1, 2, 3. I want you combining stuff and doing combinations like Muay Thai. If I just jab the whole time, yeah, they're going to respect the jab and they're going to defend the jab. But if I jab cross, or I jab cross hook, or I jab hook, now they don't know what's coming, right? And a lot more of those hits are going to land. I'm going to save energy. I'm going to do more damage. They're going to get more tired, and they're going to be outsmarted. And I'm going to start landing attacks. And so same thing with jiu-jitsu, right? We have to do combinations. And so our setup goes into our entry and our finish. And you want a good sequence of setup, entry, and finish. And you want multiple setups for the same entries, right? So I showed a few ways to get into the drop single, right? I talked about a few finishes from the drop single. You could switch to the double, you could finish the single, or you could do a fireman's carry, or you could take the back, right? So you have different ways, like you might like an arm bar. You have a lot of ways to get an arm bar, right? And then with the finishes, there's different, once you got in and they're like, oh crap, he got in on a drop single, right? Now, how do they defend? Your finishes have to be instinctual. Like, okay, when this trigger happens, I do that. When this trigger happens, I do that, right? So I'm gonna either switch to the double, right? If he sprawls, I'm gonna switch to the back. If he bends over, I'm gonna switch to the fireman's, right? And you have your transitions of how to finish that entry, right? So essentially you're setting up your entry, and your entry sets up your finish, right? And so you're just setting yourself up over and over and over for each transition. And that goes back to the flow chart. So the guys that like the flow chart idea, that goes back to the flow chart in that whenever I arm drag, these are the things that are happening. So then you need a solution to those reactions. Now, okay, I got in on my drop single on these situations. What happens when I get to the drop single? They sprawl, they do this, they do that. Okay, what's some good reactions to that, right? And so when I'm like, hey, does anybody have any questions? Right now it's hard because we don't have partners, but then you can say, yes, I do. Every time I get an underhook, the guys are doing this, right? Alex has these types of questions a lot, where every time, because he's trying moves that he's learning, and then he's coming across new situations that he didn't come across before. And so he's like, every time I do the under over pass or a tying up the legs pass, they're going for a Kimura, right? Now, how do I stop a Kimura? How do I avoid it? Like, what do I do with that, right? And we come up with some scenarios. He drills it. They either work, didn't work, or he has new situations.
Doesn't work.
It's like, nothing I learned in that private lesson worked.
Nothing works.
So, you know, sometimes that happens, but why? Because it's like when you were a white belt, everything you tried didn't work because you're new and didn't know how to do it right. Or you weren't doing the right things, right? And so when you learn a move for the first time, it's not going to work. I wasn't surprised when he said that, and I didn't take offense to it, is because that's what happens, right? And until you drill it a lot, Like 1 hour is not enough. Once you drill it a lot, you're going to come across new scenarios and say, okay, it didn't work. These are the things that happened. And then we go, okay, yeah, I've been through that. This is what you do, or this is what you do. And then you try that, right? And some of those things won't work. You just keep working on your game, right? And developing that. And you start to find things that work more often than others. And those tend to be what you lean towards. And then you come across new situations, new scenarios, new positions, right? I find myself doing the same stuff a lot because it just works, right? And so I can be on autopilot and just kind of roll the same way I always roll, and the moves are working until they don't, and then that's when you see me change things up a little bit. You know? So what do you guys think? Anything?
I have a question.
Yeah.
The single leg takedown and the double leg takedown, obviously on a mat, putting your knee on the ground works well. But would that be something you would use, say, because you know I live in a really bad neighborhood.
Yes. You wear jeans?
I think you need to get a big dog.
You wear jeans?
I wear jeans, yes.
On jeans, one street fight, you're going to be okay. If you keep street fighting in the same jeans, you're going to burn a hole in your knee.
Yeah,
But that being said, my first time I shot, I used to wrestle in practice. I'd use sweatpants. Man,
Ooh.
nylon or whatever they are, I don't know. I don't know, but it burned those, the knee of those sweatpants burned right through. It got so hot and my knee burned. And it was like the fibers just melted. Like, so that happens even on a mat. The thing is, like, you're in a scenario where you can either do what works or worry about hurting your knee, right? So if a double leg is what's going to work in that specific situation, you do the damn double leg, right? Otherwise, you're like, oh crap, I need to, and then you're the one getting tackled, right? So you do what works. Now, that being said, I'm a throw type of guy. I like to throw. I don't like double legs. I'm very good at them. I don't like to do them. I don't like to do them because the risk reward. So I'm going to throw myself, even with good position, under a guy, and he has a chance to sprawl on me. And if things go wrong, I'm under him, right? Or I could use my same skill set and ability and do an upper body throw or takedown without getting under a person. So I prefer to do that, right? But you got to develop that skill. If you can't do throws, then you have to do double legs and single legs, right? And so I started out folk style wrestling. In folk style wrestling, you're not allowed to throw or slam a guy, right? My first day of freestyle, my coach said, the main difference between freestyle and Greco and folk style is now you're no longer responsible for your opponent's safety. And I said, what do you mean, coach? Because in folk style, if we did anything that resembled a throw, our knee had to touch the ground before they did, meaning we took all the impact on our knee before they took any impact, right? And so my coach said, well, what I mean by that is you can throw them and let them go. I'm like, well, can you throw them over your head? He goes, yes, I recommend it. Throw them over your head. And I can let him go? Yes, you can let him go. He can hit the ground first? Yes. You can throw him and let him go. And then you walk away like this. I used to do that in the matches, throw people over my head and walk away like that because he said I could. I'm like, what if they land on their head? He goes, if they can't continue, you win. And so that's the biggest difference with freestyle and Greco and folk style, right? So once I learned that, I was like, hell yeah, I love this stuff, right? So
are you saying you were the first one to do a Billy walk?
I'm not going to do doubles and singles anymore, you know? And so, because in folk style, all I ever heard from my coach was shoot, shoot, shoot. The whole time I'm hand fighting, shoot, shoot. So either he was seeing opportunities or he just wanted me to be relentless, but all he would yell was shoot until I shot. And if I missed, I got out of there and I shot again because he wouldn't stop saying shoot if I didn't do it. And when I got into freestyle Greco, that's when I started throwing people instead. Because now I didn't have to take that shot and maybe be stuck underneath. I could pummel in, get my grips, do a throw. The reason we're talking about this is upper body throws. You're not risking a hard knee, a knee hitting the hard floor, concrete or the street, right? Or the sidewalk, or a stone, maybe in the grass, right? Or a root of a tree, right? There's all that stuff on the street. And in a bad neighborhood like Juan's, you got broken glass everywhere, you know?
Exactly.
Got IV needles.
The other problem is blades and needles, man. They're just everywhere.
Yeah, blades and needles.
Where do you live, man?
I'm telling you.
So
and one
you
thing
could
you guys want to come
do a
over and
throw
that.
where you never leave the ground. You know, you never hit the ground. You never leave standing. You know, maybe you overcommit and the hand touches the ground or whatever. But you with the upper body takedowns, judo and Greco, you could throw the person without touching the ground. So yes, there's a chance you're going to hit your knee real hard. And if that's all you know, that's your most effective defense, is to take them down with a double or a single. I would go with that. The drop singles, you tend not to hit your knee as hard, but you still kind of tap it to the ground. But remember, you're popping right back up. It's for a moment, right? Life or death. You need to hit a single and take them down so you can get out of there or whatever you got to do. You do it, right? The worst thing that happens is your knee hurts. You know, next day, maybe it's bleeding a little bit. You got a little pebble in your skin, and that's about it. You do what you got to do. But once you learn the hip throws, the head and arm throws, and, you know, sotogaris and haraigoshis and ochigaris and kouchigaris, you can keep yourself from hitting the ground, right? Especially adapted to jiu-jitsu, where we don't want to always commit like a judo guy does, because the fight could keep going. If you don't get knocked out from the throw, which that only happens every once in a while, you know, they're going to still be physically capable. Once their shock runs out that they got slammed, they're going to start fighting again. And so we want to still be standing if we can in the streets so we can get away. Yeah. So yeah, that's a concern, you know, but walk around with jeans more instead of shorts, you know, around when you're walking those streets.
Hey, Juan, maybe you should move.
Yeah, no, what I'm doing now is I'm actually wearing plastic, those real thick knee pads everywhere I go here.
Knee pads everywhere you go so you can shoot doubles. There you go. Just walk around with headgear and all geared up. No one's going to mess with you.
There's a lot of nice houses around my area, and I don't have to worry about any of that. I mean,
Hey, I know a guy. He could help you buy one.
yeah, I mean, I know.
Yeah.